It's 1974, and a song about a man celebrating his baby on the way is playing right after a tune that's secretly about cannibalism, and nobody at the station blinks twice. That was just Tuesday. The 1970s let songwriters get away with things that would end careers today, and radio stations played it all without a second thought. So today, we're counting down 15 songs that were normal in the 1970s, but never after. Number 15, Escape, the Pina Colada Song by Rupert Holmes.
If you like pina coladas.
Written and recorded by the same Rupert Holmes behind Timothy. Elsewhere on this list, this song became a #1 hit at the very end of the decade, closing out 1979 and opening 1980 at the top of the Billboard Hot 100. Holmes has said he originally considered other tropical drinks for the song's hook before settling on the pina colada purely because it fit the rhyme scheme better. The story follows a man in a stable but boring relationship who reads a personal ad in the newspaper describing exactly the kind of adventurous, pina colada-loving woman he wishes his partner were, and he decides to answer it and set up a secret meeting. When he arrives, he discovers the woman who placed the ad is actually his own partner, who had grown just as restless as he had.
I was tired of my lady.
The song frames the entire deception, complete with both partners planning to cheat on each other and being relieved to discover they simply wanted the same things all along, as a lighthearted, happy ending rather than something troubling. It spent weeks at #1 and remains one of the most recognized novelty hits of the decade, and the title itself is still used today as shorthand for a personal ad or online dating twist, decades after the song first topped the chart. A song built around two partners, each secretly attempting to cheat, treated as an amusing story with a warm resolution rather than a portrait of a broken relationship, reflects a much more casual pop culture attitude toward infidelity than exists in mainstream music today.
Yes, I like pina coladas.
Number 14, Copacabana at the Copa by Barry Manilow.
Copacabana.
Released in 1978, this song tells the story of Lola, a showgirl at New York's famous Copacabana nightclub in the 1940s, and her boyfriend Tony, a bartender there. When a wealthy patron named Rico starts pursuing Lola, a jealous confrontation breaks out between the two men, and Tony is shot and killed in the resulting fight. The story then jumps forward 30 years to show Lola, older and alone, still haunted by that night and drinking at the same club where it happened. The song was co-written by Jack Feldman and Bruce Sussman, and Manilow has said the character of Lola was partly inspired by the glamorous showgirls he remembered from watching old films growing up.
And then the punches flew and chairs were smashed in two.
Manilow packaged this entire story of jealousy, violence, and lasting grief inside an upbeat, danceable disco arrangement, complete with a bright horn section and a sing-along chorus that made it a party staple. It became one of Manilow's signature songs, earned him a Grammy, and the story proved popular enough that it was later expanded into both a television movie and a stage musical, both built entirely around the same characters from the song. A song describing a shooting death over jealousy becoming one of the catchiest, most joyfully performed party anthems of the era is a strange contrast that captures just how loosely dark subject matter could be repackaged into feel-good pop at the time.
Copacabana.
Number 13, Cocaine by Eric Clapton.
Take her out, cocaine.
This song was actually written by J.J. Cale, but Eric Clapton's 1977 version, included on his album Slow Hand, became the far more widely known recording. Cale had released his own quieter version of the song a year earlier in 1976, But it was Clapton's more polished, radio-ready recording that turned it into a hit. The lyrics repeat the drug's name as a kind of chorus hook, and while some listeners at the time read it as a cautionary song given a few lines warning against the drug, its steady, laid-back groove and simple, catchy structure made it feel more like an anthem than a warning to most casual listeners.
If you wanna get down, down on the ground.
Slow Hand went on to become one of the best-selling albums of Clapton's career, helped in no small part by how often cocaine got played on rock radio throughout the following decade. It became a staple of classic rock radio and one of Clapton's most recognized songs, despite Clapton's own well-documented struggles with substance abuse both before and after its release. Clapton has said in later interviews that he came to see the song differently over the years, occasionally introducing it in concert with a joking disclaimer about its intent. A song built around repeating a drug's name for its entire structure, becoming a decades-long radio staple with almost no controversy attached to its lyrics, fits comfortably into an era when drug references were treated far more loosely on the radio.
Cocaine.
Number 12, Undercover Angel by Alan O'Day.
Undercover angel, midnight fantasy.
Alan O'Day had already written hits for other artists, including Rock and Roll Heaven for the Righteous Brothers, before recording this one himself. Released in 1977, it became a surprise #1 hit, driven by a catchy chorus and a smooth, radio-friendly production. O'Day wrote the song himself after being inspired by a real dream, and he originally imagined other artists recording it before deciding to keep it for his own album. The lyrics describe a young man alone in bed at night who is visited by a mysterious woman who appears out of nowhere to seduce him, framed as something between a dream and a supernatural encounter.
On my pillow, lonely in my bed.
The song leans heavily on breathy vocal effects and playful innuendo to suggest exactly what happens next, all set to an upbeat, almost bubblegum arrangement that made it comfortable for daytime pop radio. It topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 1 week that summer, competing directly against much more serious rock and soul records on the same chart, and it became the only #1 hit of O'Day's own performing career, even though he kept writing successful songs for other artists throughout the following decade. A song that's explicitly about a fantasy sexual encounter, delivered with a wink and a smile, becoming a #1 pop hit without much controversy. Attached shows how differently innuendo was treated on mainstream radio at the time.
She said, ooh,
Number 11, Life in the Fast Lane by Eagles. This song came from the Eagles' 1976 album Hotel California and was released as a single in 1977, eventually reaching number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100. Glenn Frey has explained that the title came directly from a real experience of riding in a car with a drug dealer the band knew, who was driving recklessly fast while both of them were high, and casually said the phrase that became the song's title. The riff came from Walsh warming up backstage before a show, and once Frey heard it, he knew immediately it belonged with the phrase from that car ride. The band built the song around that guitar riff, and the lyrics describe a couple who chase excess, drugs, and a fast lifestyle until it destroys them. Hotel California went on to sell more than 16 million copies in the United States alone, and Life in the Fast Lane became one of the album's most enduring tracks on classic rock radio. It became a staple of classic rock radio and is still closely associated with road trips and highway driving today. The song does not glamorize the lifestyle without consequence, since the couple in the story eventually falls apart, but its origin in a real, casual, drug-fueled joyride, told with a sense of thrill rather than alarm, was a comfortable subject for a mainstream rock radio hit in a way that would raise more eyebrows now. Number 10, Afternoon Delight by Starland Vocal Band.
Gonna grab some afternoon delight.
Written by Bill Danoff, this song became a surprise number 1 hit in the summer of 1976 and even won a Grammy for Song of the Year. On the surface, it sounds like a cheerful, harmony-driven, soft rock tune about enjoying a nice afternoon. Underneath that, the lyrics are a series of food-themed double entendres about having sex in the middle of the day, dressed up just enough to slide past casual listeners and radio programmers. Bill Danoff had already co-written Take Me Home, Country Roads for John Denver a few years earlier, and Starland Vocal Band itself grew out of an earlier duo called Fat City. It became so mainstream that Starland Vocal Band was given their own network variety show on CBS the following year.
Rockets in flight, afternoon delight.
And the song was played constantly on family-friendly daytime radio without much pushback. The song's Grammy win came the same year Stevie Wonder dominated most of the other major categories, which only made its success feel even more unlikely in hindsight. Decades later, the song became something of a punchline itself after being featured in the 2004 comedy Anchorman, which poked fun at exactly how unaware most listeners were of what the lyrics actually meant. A thinly veiled song about a midday sexual encounter winning a major industry award and becoming wholesome, network television material shows how easily that kind of content slipped past everyone at the time. Number 9, Torn Between Two Lovers by Mary McGregor.
Torn between two lovers.
This song became a number 1 hit in February 1977, sung from the point of view of a woman who is involved with 2 men at once and openly admits she loves them both. Rather than treating infidelity as something shameful, the song frames it sympathetically, presenting divided loyalty as an understandable, even tender, emotional situation, rather than a betrayal to be resolved. Mary McGregor had sung backup vocals for Peter Yarrow before he handed her the song, and it turned out to be the only major hit of her career. It was co-written by Yarrow, originally intended for his own album before it ended up with McGregor instead.
Loving both of you is breaking all the rules.
The song held the number 1 spot on the Billboard Hot 100 for 2 weeks and became one of the best-selling singles of 1977. The soft, gentle production and McGregor's delicate vocal delivery made the subject matter go down easily on adult contemporary radio, where it became one of the biggest hits of the year. A number 1 single built entirely around a narrator calmly explaining that she is committed to 2 different partners at the same time, without any apparent guilt attached to the framing, reflects a much more permissive pop culture attitude toward relationships than exists in mainstream music now.
Loving you both is breaking all the rules.
Number 8, The Pill by Loretta Lynn.
You whine me and dine me.
Loretta Lynn recorded this song in 1972, but her label held it back for 3 years, fully aware of how much trouble it might cause in the conservative world of country radio. When it finally came out in 1975, the song told the story of a wife who is finally free to enjoy her marriage without the fear of another pregnancy, thanks to birth control, after years of what the lyrics describe as being kept barefoot and pregnant. The song was co-written by Laureen Allen, Don McCann, and T.D. Bayless, though Lynn's delivery made it feel entirely autobiographical to anyone who knew her story. It mirrored Lynn's own life, since she had 6 children, 4 of them born before she turned 20. Lynn later said she didn't consider the song particularly shocking compared to some of her other material,
Promised if I'd be your wife, you'd show.
joking in interviews that she had written songs she considered far more scandalous. Around 60 country radio stations across the United States refused to play it, and a Kentucky preacher devoted an entire sermon to denouncing it from the pulpit. The Grand Ole Opry reportedly held a 3-hour internal meeting after Lynn performed the song there, debating whether to stop her from singing it again. Despite the bans, the song still reached number 5 on the country chart and became Lynn's highest charting pop crossover single. A frank, comedic song about a married woman's excitement over birth control causing that much institutional panic, while still becoming a hit, shows just how fresh and unsettled that subject still was in mainstream American music at the time.
Your brooder half, 'cause now I've got the pill.
Number 7, Convoy by C.W. McCall. C.W. McCall, the stage persona of advertising executive Bill Fries, turned a passing fascination with citizens band radio culture into a number 1 hit in January 1976. The song is told through the slang and lingo of long-haul truckers communicating over CB radios, describing a growing convoy of trucks that bands together to blow past speed traps and defy way stations across state lines. Before recording the song, Fries had built a career in advertising, and the C.W. McCall persona actually began as a character he created for a series of bread commercials. It tapped directly into a nationwide CB radio craze that exploded in the mid-1970s, partly as a response to the newly lowered 55-mile-per-hour speed limit imposed after the 1973 oil crisis. The success of the song helped push citizens band radios into millions of American households and cars almost overnight, turning trucker slang into part of everyday conversation. The song essentially celebrates truckers coordinating to break the law together, dodging state troopers as a form of working-class solidarity, and it was treated as good-natured fun rather than anything troubling. It inspired an entire subculture of CB slang entering everyday conversation, and even led to a 1978 movie of the same name starring Chris Christopherson. A number 1 song built around a cheerful group effort to evade law enforcement and speeding regulations captures a very specific mid-70s attitude toward rules and authority on the highway. Number 6, You're Having My Baby by Paul Anka.
That you're having my baby.
Paul Anka wrote this song for his wife and their 4 daughters and recorded it as a duet with singer Odia Coates. Released in the summer of 1974, it became Anka's first number 1 hit in 15 years, sitting at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 for 3 weeks. The lyrics describe a woman's pregnancy almost entirely through the perspective of the father, framing the choice to continue the pregnancy, rather than what the lyrics describe as sweeping it away as the ultimate gift a woman could give a man. Coming out the year after Roe v. Wade had made abortion legal nationwide, the song landed right in the middle of an already tense national conversation. The backlash was immediate and organized.
You're the woman I love, and I love what it's doing to.
The National Organization for Women gave Anka their Keep Her in Her Place award, and Ms. Magazine named him their Male Chauvinist Pig of the Year. Despite all of that, the song still topped the charts and became one of the best-selling singles of 1974. Coates was a relatively unknown gospel singer before Anka brought her in for the duet, and the song helped launch her own recording career afterward. The song also reached the top of the charts in Canada and cracked the top 10 in several other countries, making the controversy an international conversation rather than a purely American one. Anka later began performing it live with the lyric change to Having Our Baby. A number 1 pop hit generating that level of formal national feminist backlash while still dominating the charts is a very particular product of its decade.
Having my baby.
Number 5, Smokin' in the Boys' Room by Brownsville Station.
Smoking in the boys' room.
This one came from a Michigan rock band and became a genuine hit in 1973, climbing into the top 5 on the Billboard chart. The song is a first-person account of a kid ditching class to smoke cigarettes in the school bathroom, dodging a strict principal along the way. The song was written by band members Cub Koda and Michael Lutz, who based the lyrics loosely on their own memories of skipping class as teenagers. It leaned into a very specific kind of teenage rebellion that was treated as harmless fun rather than a serious problem.
Listen to the teacher rap, just ain't my bag.
Cigarette smoking itself was still deeply embedded in everyday American life at the time, with ashtrays in offices, smoking sections on airplanes, and cigarette ads still a normal part of the media landscape even after health warnings had already begun appearing on packs. A song celebrating underage smoking as a lighthearted act of teenage defiance fit comfortably on mainstream radio and even got a cover version by Mötley Crüe years later. Today, with decades of public health messaging aimed specifically at keeping cigarettes away from teenagers, a song framing it as fun rebellion would land very differently.
Everybody knows that smoking ain't allowed in school.
Number 4, Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones. Released in 1971 as the lead single from the album Sticky Fingers, this song became one of the Rolling Stones' signature hits and a number 1 single in the United States. Musically, it's built around one of Keith Richards' most recognizable guitar riffs, and it became a concert staple for the band for decades. Lyrically, the song weaves together references to slavery, interracial relationships, and sexual conquest, all wrapped inside an upbeat, danceable arrangement. The track was largely written by Jagger during recording sessions at Muscle Shoals Sound Studio in Alabama, and for much of the 1970s and 1980s, it served as the Rolling Stones' concert opener. For years, it was simply treated as classic rock, played constantly on the radio without much scrutiny of its subject matter. Mick Jagger himself later admitted in interviews that he would probably not write those particular words if he were starting the song today, acknowledging that the lyrics touch on things that are far too loaded to treat so casually. The band eventually dropped the song from set lists on their 2021 tour. A song built around that subject matter becoming a chart-topping hit and staying in heavy rotation for decades without controversy shows how differently those themes were handled in popular music at the time. Number 3, Timothy by The Boys. This one might be the strangest entry on this list, and it starts with a plan to get banned on purpose. The Boys were a struggling band from Pennsylvania signed to Scepter Records, and songwriter Rupert Holmes, years before he wrote Escape, was brought in to give them something that would grab attention. Holmes decided the safest way to get noticed was to write something guaranteed to be controversial, so he wrote a song about 3 miners trapped after a cave-in, loosely inspired by a real 1963 mining disaster in Shepton, Pennsylvania. In the song, only 2 miners come back out, and the lyrics strongly imply that the third, named Timothy, did not survive and was eaten by the other 2. Released in December 1970, the song climbed to number 17 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1971. Even as numerous radio stations pulled it once they understood what it was actually describing. Before Timothy, the band's debut single, called These Days, had barely registered with listeners, which is part of why the label was willing to let Holmes try something so unconventional. Scepter Records tried damage control by claiming Timothy was actually the name of a mule, not a man, but Holmes refused to back up that story. Holmes has said in later interviews that he remains proud of the song rather than embarrassed by it, calling it a clever bit of songwriting rather than something to apologize for. A catchy pop single about implied cannibalism reaching the national top 20 is not something that could happen on mainstream radio today. Number 2, Love the One You're With by Stephen Stills. By 1970, Stephen Stills was already known from Buffalo Springfield and Crosby, Stills and Nash, and his solo debut gave him his biggest hit as a solo artist. The song's message was direct. If the person you love isn't around, it's fine to be with whoever is nearby instead. Stills has said the line came to him from something Billy Preston told him in passing, and he built an entire song around the idea in a matter of minutes. It became a top 20 hit and one of the defining singles of Stills' career, played constantly on FM and AM radio alike throughout the decade. The song appeared on Stills' self-titled debut album, which also featured a guest appearance from Jimi Hendrix on a different track, recorded not long before Hendrix's death. It has since been covered by a wide range of artists across different genres, from soul to reggae, keeping it in steady rotation for decades. The song's casual approach to relationships fit right into the loosened social attitudes of the early 1970s, when the sexual revolution was still a fresh cultural force. A song with that message getting continuous daytime airplay, with no controversy attached to the lyrics themselves, reflects just how differently commitment and fidelity were treated in mainstream pop music at the time. Love the one you're with. Love the one you're with. Number 1, One Toke Over the Line by Brewer and Shipley.
One toke over the line, sweet Jesus.
Mike Brewer and Tom Shipley were a low-key folk rock duo out of Kansas City when they wrote this song almost as a joke, built around a phrase Shipley muttered one night about being a little too high. It landed on their 1970 album Tarkio and became a single in early 1971, climbing all the way into the top 10. The song was about being stoned, plainly and simply, and it got radio play across the country without much controversy from listeners. The duo actually met at a Kansas City folk club years before signing with Kama Sutra Records, and neither of them expected the song to become their signature hit when they recorded it. What made it strange was where the trouble came from. Vice President Spiro Agnew singled the duo out by name on national television, calling the song a piece of dangerous drug propaganda alongside tracks by the Byrds and Jefferson Airplane. Around the same time, the wholesome Lawrence Welk Show had 2 of its clean-cut performers sing the song on air, introducing it to the audience as a modern gospel number, seemingly with no idea what it was actually about. A drug song got a vice presidential warning and a spot on the Square Show on television in the same year. That kind of mixed reception simply would not happen with a modern song built around getting high. That's 15 songs that once had a completely normal spot on the radio dial, back when a tune about implied cannibalism could share a playlist with one about a father celebrating his baby on the way. Music has always been a mirror for whatever a decade was willing to sit with, and the 1970s were willing to sit with quite a lot, from casual drug references to darker storytelling that would never make it past a modern radio programmer without a fight. If you grew up with any of these songs playing in the background of your life, let us know which one still catches you off guard when you really listen to the words now. If you enjoyed this trip back through the decade, give this video a like and subscribe for more looks back at the music that shaped the way we remember the 70s.